This is not another motivational trading psychology video. See, most traders think bad trading comes down to discipline. But what if a trading mistake actually begins hours, days, or even years before the trade is placed? A revenge trade, a panic close, overtrading, hesitation are all actually just the final outputs of multiple hidden systems interacting beneath the surface. That's why I want you to think of trading behavior like a volcano. You see the explosion, the eruption on the outside, entering the trade, panic selling, revenge trading, hesitating, overtrading, even following your rules. These are all just the final explosion. But hidden underneath that explosion are the many hidden layers that built up pressure long before the trade even happened. You see, most traders think if I can just be more disciplined, I just need more discipline, then I will finally pass that funded challenge account or finally make that $10,000 a month payout or whatever trading goal they may have. However, a behavior usually comes from many interacting forces at once, not just one simple explanation. It's multi-causal. Whether or not we address these hidden forces will ultimately determine our success in this career path. And it's my goal to get you to understand the cause, stop blaming yourself, designing better conditions, build consistent habits, and trade with compassion and a plan. Let's get to it. So let's start with the first layer, our immediate emotional state. So this is how we're feeling right now: fear, anger, urgency, boredom, excitement, all names we give to feeling states before we enter a trade, during a trade, and after a trade. Feelings we've all experienced millions of times before as traders, right? But these feelings, these emotions, are what add heat and pressure to the volcano, right? I want you to remember the volcano, guys. The more emotional pressure, there's more heat in the volcano, the higher chance of poor decisions, manifesting as revenge trading, impulsive actions, eventually leading to your self-sabotage. So let's take a look at an example. Imagine you trade the London and New York session. You took a trade in London, heck, it was a super solid setup, you followed all of your rules, but it still ended in a loss. Fine, you tell yourself you're done for the session. Everything is going as planned. Hours later, New York session arrives. Now you're waiting some more, observing, stalking, waiting for that other setup. It arrives, you enter, but then another loss. All those hours spent waiting and being in trades only to lose 2 times in a row. Something inside you flips. All those hours patiently waiting, and what do you have to show for it? At least that's what you tell yourself. That emotional pressure becomes part of the volcano. But emotions don't appear out of nowhere. Often, they're heavily influenced by what's happened to the trader recently. And that takes us deeper in the volcano. Your recent P&L volatility. Your recent results heavily affect your nervous system. This is huge. So a trader on a 5-day winning streak is going to see setups far more differently than a trader during a deep drawdown. So after several losses, the brain becomes more threat focused. The amygdala, which is the threat center of the brain, very primitive, ancient, even known as the reptilian part of your brain, becomes louder than ever. So what does this look like in your trading? You start hesitating, cutting winners early, avoiding valid entries, second guessing confirmations. But after a big win streak, the opposite happens. The brain becomes overconfident. You tell yourself you can just feel the market, you're in sync, you're the man, you're the woman, whatever. Now your dopamine system becomes loud. And what does this look like? You start increasing your position sizes, lower quality setups are taken, you start ignoring risk rules, you start thinking you cannot lose. So the key truth is that a lot of blowups don't happen after losing, they happen after winning. So success creates emotional overheating and the volcano starts building pressure through what I like to call confidence expansion. So the market doesn't change, guys. Your nervous system does. But even that still isn't the full picture, guys. Sometimes the answer is biological. Sleep, energy, stress, recovery. Welcome to the next layer of the volcano. So this one is massively underestimated because a tired trader is a biologically different trader. Let's say trader A slept 8.5 hours. Good hydration, good recovery, low stress. Body and brain are working well. Trader B, on the other hand, slept only for 4 hours. They had caffeine and sugar all day, argued with someone before the session opened. So even if both traders use the exact same strategy, exact same market plan, their brains will process risk differently. The sleep deprived trader usually reacts emotionally faster, becomes impulsive, struggles with patience, feels uncertainty more intensely. And this explains why traders often break rules on bad sleep days. Not because they forgot the rules, but because exhaustion weakens the brain's ability to regulate emotions. The survival systems become louder, the logical systems become weaker. That's why protecting your sleep is actually a part of risk management. But here's where this gets even deeper. So, two traders can have the same setup, the same strategy, the same sleep now, and still emotionally react differently to loss. Why? Because some of the pressure inside the volcano may have started forming years earlier. Your childhood conditioning, guys. So, how you learned about mistakes, failure, uncertainty, punishment, reward when you were younger can still affect your trading today. For example, if somebody grew up in a highly critical environment where mistakes were punished harshly, they may struggle massively with taking losses. Why? Because losses unconsciously feel like a personal failure, not statistical variance. So every losing trade becomes emotional, and every losing trade feels like danger to the brain. Again, triggering that threat system, that alarm system in the amygdala. Another trader may constantly need to prove themselves during or through their trading. And they aren't trading for money anymore, they're trading for identity validation. They need the market to tell them, you are smart, you are successful, you matter. And when identity gets attached to trading, objectivity disappears, evaporates. So now losses feel personal, and that creates emotional decision making. So the truth is, the market doesn't care about your past, but your brain often acts like it does. Awareness, guys, is the key to breaking this cycle. Okay, it's not just about strategy, it's about old programs. Okay, so you can't change your past, but you can change how it shows up in your trading. So the goal is freedom from old programs so you can trade with clarity. So now we've almost arrived at the bottom of the volcano. We're not there yet, but we're very close. We're going to take a look at the next layer now, our learned patterns. See, your brain is always creating patterns based on your past wins, losses, habits, your level of confidence that you may be having at any given time, your expectations, and any mental models that you may have already in place. So your brain is always creating patterns, sometimes helpful, sometimes destructive. So let's say a trader randomly breaks their rules one day and accidentally catches a huge move. Dangerous. Because now the brain learns breaking rules can lead to rewards. Even if it was random, the brain doesn't always learn the truth. It learns emotional associations. And this is why inconsistent traders often become trapped. They occasionally get rewarded for bad behavior, and intermittent rewards are extremely addictive, literally very similar to gambling psychology. And your brain starts chasing the emotional memory of that massive win. Another example is a trader gets stopped out 5 times in a row during consolidation. Now, when the next valid setup appears, they hesitate because their brain learned this pattern equals pain, even though statistically the next trade could be perfect. The market changes, right? But emotional memory lags behind. So, as with the previous layers, guys, awareness breaks the loop. Patterns can be rewritten, all right, with data and discipline combined, okay? But more on that in our next lessons. So now we've reached the final layer of the volcano, your evolutionary instincts, threat detection, survival, resource protection, status, avoidance of pain, seeking reward. This is the deepest layer. And you will notice that the further down we go down the volcano, the further back in time we go. You see, humans evolved for survival, not trading. So your brain evolved to avoid danger, protect any resources that it may have accumulated or found, seek status, fit into groups, avoid uncertainty, and chase reward. Think, survive today. Survive only today. So your ancient brain is fast, emotional, short-term, risk-averse, unless, of course, reward is possible. But good trading requires something different. The modern brain requires something different. Patience, the ability to sit and do nothing. Uncertainty tolerance, dealing with the outcome. You don't know. As soon as you place a trade, you don't know for certain what's going to happen. Emotional neutrality, delayed gratification, accepting losses calmly, doing nothing for long periods of time. Good trading is biologically unnatural. Your modern goals constantly conflict with your ancient brain. For example, many traders overtrade simply because boredom feels uncomfortable. Your brain craves stimulation. It wants stimulation. Action feels safer than waiting. And even though in trading, doing nothing is often the best decision. Another example, cutting winners too early. Why? Because biologically, securing a small reward immediately feels safer than risking uncertainty for a larger gain later. Your ancient survival brain says, take the food now. But your trading plan says, hold for the target. And that internal conflict is happening constantly. So your ancient brain is not wrong. It just isn't designed for trading. Awareness helps you manage the conflict. And this internal conflict is happening constantly, guys. We have to train our modern brains to lead. So, I want to conclude this lesson with a simple analogy. My favorite aviation analogy. And those of you that have stuck until the end, congratulations. You are the ones that will succeed in this industry. So let's imagine a plane has crashed from the sky. The amateur view, the simple amateur view is that the pilot messed up, a single cause, right? But the investigator will look at the whole system. You see, the investigator will consider multiple factors interacting together. He will consider the weather, the fatigue levels of the pilot, maybe the cockpit design, communication mishaps, how well the plane was maintained prior to liftoff, stress of the pilot, maybe the training levels, the visibility levels during that day of the flight, fuel systems. Maybe the pilot was experiencing decision overload for whatever reason, timing. You see, all of these factors interacting together is what causes a crash. It's hardly ever just one thing. That's why you get small issues plus bad timing plus the interaction. That's when you get the catastrophic outcome. So now let's apply this to our trading. With a trading analogy, the amateur view, remember the start of the video? Oh, if only I had more discipline, or I just made an emotional mistake. That's the amateur view. The reality is, now, after learning everything we've learned, it's a complex system. Many factors stack the pressure. Okay, so all of these things that we've looked at together, stacked together, is what creates that emotional pressure that causes traders to lapse and explode or erupt, however way you want to look at it, essentially leading to you blowing your account or failing that funded challenge account. Most traders spend years trying to control the eruption. Very few ever examine the volcano. The moment you stop asking, why did I take that trade? And start asking, what built the pressure underneath? That's the moment trading psychology becomes a science rather than a battle of willpower. Thank you guys and gals for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.